So welcome to a special Stacey West video. This is one that I wanted to put together around my London Marathon efforts, my London Marathon training, Lincoln City Foundation fundraiser. So yesterday we broke through the £4,000 barrier, which is absolutely incredible. And I really wanted to say thank you to everybody who has supported me so far. I say we broke through the £4,000 barrier because it is really a collective effort. I know I'm the one that's out on the streets of London and on the streets of the Wolds and on the streets of Rugby at the moment training, but it's not my £4,000 that's going to the foundation. It's your money. So it's a collective effort. You're backing me, and it is hugely, hugely appreciated. There are 30 days left between now. There are 30 days between now and when I line up on the start line in London to run 26.2 miles, which seems absolutely incredible. It's come around so quickly. I vowed to do all sorts of things. I was going to do videos and diary and that sort of thing. And as it is, I haven't done that. So I wanted to do a video today to cover a few basic questions. I've been interviewed by a few journalists of late, student journalists from the University of Lincoln, stuff like that. And a lot of the content that they put out probably hasn't been seen. I did something with Jamie Johnson that was in the Skegness papers and the Lincoln papers, etc. But I thought I'd do something a little bit more personal for our YouTube channel subscribers, our Patreons, everybody that follows the Stacey West, and anybody that's slightly interested in my journey. So I asked people for a list of questions. I was given a list of questions from our Patreons, which I will now endeavour to answer in a quick video. And then I'll give the raffle and the book a plug at the end. And if you don't know what the raffle and the book are, stick around and you will find out. So this is how it will work. I will pop a question at the bottom of the screen, like so, and then I'll answer it. Nice and simple. And we should keep this around 20 minutes. Don't want to be too long, do we? I would say I've got a run to do, but I haven't today. So the first question, why did you want to run a marathon? Well, for anybody that has read any of the material that I've put out, I didn't. I had no intention of running a marathon. I had no intention of running a half marathon. It just wasn't something that ever crossed my mind. And then in October, I went to do a presentation with some Year 9 students at the foundation. And the CEO, Martin Hickerton, said, "We're looking for someone to run the London Marathon. Would you be interested in applying?" And I laughed and said no, obviously. I had no interest whatsoever in doing that. Got in my van to drive home, 26.2 miles roughly between my house and Sincilbank, which is ironic, prophetic, who knows? And on that journey, I decided that it might be worth applying. So I got home, I spoke to Fee, I spoke to Dale Rowson, a runner friend of mine, I spoke to Mark Preston, an ultra runner friend of mine, cousin of mine, married my cousin, and got some advice, and everybody said, do it, do it, do it. So I applied to do it. I told my mum, and she let in a little shriek of horror, as if like, how the hell are you ever going to do that? Dad laughed because that's what Dad does. But I had no intention of doing it. And I think what tipped me over the edge was two things. There was one, I thought I could raise a lot of money for the foundation, and I'll come on to that in a minute. And secondly, it's a goal. It was October last year. I'd recently kind of changed jobs, and I think I was just needed a long-term goal, and being able to run 26.2 miles when I couldn't run 0.6 without stopping and taking a breath seemed like a challenge. So I thought, why not? Let's have a go at that challenge. Why the Lincoln City Foundation? I mean, obviously, they're the ones that asked and had the charity place, and I had to go through a selection process. It wasn't just a matter of me being given the place. But if I'd been asked by a cat charity or Jerry Green Dog Rescue to run the London Marathon, would I have done it? I'm not sure. Potentially. But the work that the foundation does is something that's resonated with me for a long while now. Back when I was poacher, the foundation, in my opinion, or what I perceived, they did a bit of healthy eating around schools, trained some kids, for free, and that was it. And since getting to know what they do properly, and that's through Martin, who I knew from his time at university, but also through a family member going through their Fighting Fit cancer course, I became more and more aware of the good that they do, and they do so much good. It is frightening. I've seen a lot of it firsthand. So I went to their Fighting Fit club at Yarborough, it was run by Alice that day. Alice doesn't normally do it, I don't think, but and it was just great. It was such a community. These people, these incredibly brave, strong people, fighting cancer, beating cancer, some losing to cancer, all there together. It was humbling. and to think that I can help raise some money to keep that going, to help those people continue to meet free of charge or whatever, that was humbling. I then went back to the foundation. I saw a youth club. I saw local schools training on the pitches. I saw them teaching foreign nationals English who were settling in the area. I saw them dealing with men's mental health. I saw them welcoming the local community through their doors on their Keeping Warm program, like an adult youth club. What they do never ends, and it's not just in Lincoln; it's all over, and it's really humbling. And I don't even think of the right word. Just grounding to be able to help a charity that's not just nationwide, that's not one of the big names that you see, but something that's right here, right in the middle of our community, based around our football club, helping the people that we know. And so for me, that's the absolute 100% reason why the Lincoln City Foundation. So training is going well. I tell everybody that because I'm still training. I haven't picked up any injuries, touch wood, so I've stayed injury free. I actually started training as soon as I put the application in, which was around October the 26th. So I've been running kind of 5K 2-3 times a week right the way through to December 30th when my official training started. I ran on Christmas Day. I ran on New Year's Eve. I didn't run on New Year's Day, to be fair. My actual training has been eye-opening, been really interesting. I run 3 times a week. My first run is always on a Tuesday. It's an interval run. Those who don't know what intervals is, you start doing a run, and then your watch tells you to run faster for, let's say, 400 meters, then you slow down for 200, then you run faster for 600 meters, and you slow down. It's aimed at building strength. Thursday's always just a middling run, so it's a middling distance. Middling distance for me this week was 8 miles. And then Saturday is your big run. And that started at kind of 7, 8, 9 miles, and it's now up to 20 miles this Saturday. So it is what it is. You go out and you run. I've stayed injury free. I've completed all of my runs. So it's going as well as it possibly can, I think. And I feel fit and ready. So the most surprising thing about training is how resilient and how incredible the human body is. Now, my body has been a different shape for much of my life. So I topped out at around 17 stone at one point. I have metal in my back. I felt I had the lung capacity of a 6-year-old after smoking for 20 odd years. My body felt generally run down before I went on my fitness drive a little over 3 years ago. So to think that my body is now adapted to a point where I can wear medium-sized T-shirts and run, I could set off from here jogging and not stop for a breath for 10, 15 kilometres maybe. And I have no doubt I'll get around in London. Whether I'll get around in the 4.5 or 5 hours I want to, I certainly hope so. But the fact that my body's happy for me to run 18 miles on a Saturday morning before breakfast now is incredible. And that's not mental, that's physical. That's a physical thing. It's not that I don't think I can do it. The mental block is what will always stop you, but your body, as long as you don't suffer injury, will never stop you. It will just keep adapting to however you train it. And I found that to be the most surprising thing, because I never imagined I'd be able to run the distances that I'm running in the times that I'm running. The worst thing about training, I was really pleased when I got this question in, to be honest, because the worst thing about training, I think, is probably the days where you can't train. And that's honest. I love being out. I really enjoy the runs. It's invigorating. It's like pressing pause on a series. You know, if you're watching a tough film, it's just like pressing pause and just stepping away. You're stepping away from everything, and it's just you and the road and your music. It's sometimes that can be a challenge, because sometimes on a 20-mile run, it's just you and your head for 3 hours. So you've got to be in the right headspace, I think, when you set off. That can be a challenge. And also location has been difficult for me. So we live at the top of the Wolds, lots of hills. Yesterday's run, I didn't have time to go to Rugby where it's nice and flat to run. So I had to run around here. When you come in up a hill into a wind that's blowing to the coast, and you look behind you and you can actually see the sea. I mean, it's 15 miles away, but you can see the sea. It can be challenging. And some of those long runs can be quite lonely as well. So they're the hardest thing. But I wouldn't ever now not see myself running 3 times a week, which is really strange. What sort of support have I received? And I think I've spelt received wrongly there, and potentially. So the support has just been phenomenal from literally everybody. I mean, even the people who have had negative comments about brothers that went delirious as they got over the line, or toenails that fell off, and all this sort of stuff. And, it's been well-meaning support. So it's hard to say to thank literally everybody. I do want to shout out Mark Preston, definitely. So Mark is married to my cousin Angie, and he's kind of an inspiration. And Angie's as well. Angie's run the London Marathon, the pair of them. But Mark's he's been in contact all the time. He gives me loads of advice about my runs. If I've had a bad run and he sees it on social media, he'll message me with some kind of nice comments or some advice. The gels I'm on come through Mark's recommendation. The electrolyte tablets I've taken are on Mark's recommendation. He's told me plenty about the day. What should I take? Take this to the start line, do that. So he's been absolutely phenomenal in terms of support. And I don't have to shout out Paul Degare as well, my personal trainer. He's a British triathlon accredited trainer. It's his full-time job, and he's become my personal trainer for free for this journey, which is incredibly generous. He's been huge support when he's been over here. He's been supportive. He's always on the end of a WhatsApp. He's planned my training regime as well, which I am incredibly lucky in that respect. So I think the support from everybody, from Fee, from my mum, from my dad, from literally everybody, has been incredible. So thank you to everybody for that. And finally, of course, the financial support from everybody watching this, everybody who's come online, who's supported me with their money. It's been amazing. I mean, some people have been so incredibly generous. There's been a couple of people putting in 100, 200 quid. I mean, it's astounding, absolutely astounding that people would do that just for me doing a bit of running over a few months. So thank you so much. It's going to make such a big difference to the foundation to help them keep delivering the programs that they're delivering. And that's what it's about. It's not about me, it is about them. Has this affected your diet, solid and liquid, more or less? And what is your favourite pasta? Great question. So it has slightly affected my diet, because I always used to be a little bit worried about what I was eating because I didn't want to put weight on. I fought hard to get from 17 down to about 14 and a half stone before I started running, and I wanted to maintain that. Now I can eat pretty much what I want at the moment, because I know I'm going to burn it off. I mean, when you consider that by the time this week finishes, I will have run about 37, 38 miles. When you're running that, you don't have to worry an awful lot about what you eat. I just feel guilty when I put McDonald's in me the other day. It's almost like trying to run a diesel van on chip fat rather than the special Shell high-powered diesel. So I do think about it a little bit. I'm certainly more aware of my hydration since I've been running. I drink less. I do drink still a little bit, but I drink a lot less. We still have takeaways and that sort of thing. But I am doing my best with my diet, and I think that will become more apparent as we get closer to the day. And in terms of what is my favourite pasta, just pasta. I mean, I don't know what the different types are. I feel like a chav if I go, I like the one that's a bit like a bow tie. But I've been eating spaghetti bolognese, for instance, is really good. And tonight I'll have some sort of chicken and pasta as well. So yeah, pasta is really important. Do you feel healthier, not just fitter, a better person, more motivated, that sort of thing? Yeah, absolutely. They say anything becomes habit forming after around 60 days. And I think I've been running now for about 100 to 150 days. So it's habit, and it's a good habit to have. It's a better habit to have than drink or drugs or anything like that, because it's good for your body. So I do feel healthier. I do feel a little more tired recently, I think, with the longer runs, and that's probably a fueling thing, if anything. But I certainly feel in a better place. I mean, I weight train on the days where I'm not running as well, and I only tend to have the one day off. So I do feel in much better shape. There's nothing better for the ego than going onto a clothing site and buying a medium-sized T-shirt when you used to be debating between XL or triple X or double XL. A little bit disappointing, because I've got quite a lot of nice clothes that hang off me a little bit now as well. But it makes you feel better. It makes you feel good, and that's a scientifically proven fact. If you go out and run, it gets the endorphins pumping, and you get home and you get your runner's high. So you do feel more motivated. And on the days, as I said, where I don't run, sometimes they can be quite tough. And I prefer the running to the weight training. The weight training, you just lift something for a few minutes and you're sitting around, whereas running, it's focus. And I think that's really important. It's about having that focus, not just before you go, but while you're running as well. It's running it's about endurance, and some of those longer runs, it's about physical and mental endurance. And when you put yourself into your stretch zones, out your comfort zone, and somewhere where you're uncomfortable, eventually that becomes the norm. It's like if you have a pair of socks with an elastic and you keep pulling the elastic wider and wider and wider, eventually the elastic becomes bigger. So if you keep stepping outside your comfort zone time and time again, eventually where you step out to becomes your comfort zone. So you do feel healthier, you do feel fitter, you do feel a better person. So has it affected my social life? And if so, have your friends supported you? Yeah, my friends have supported me. It hasn't affected my social life. For instance, my mates had a night out a couple of weeks ago in Lincoln, and it was a big night out, and I didn't go because I didn't want to go out and have loads to drink. But then I have had a couple of nights out during my training as well, so it hasn't hugely affected it. It's actually put me in the Ivy Club in rugby at tea times a little bit more, because I do a big run on a Saturday. I often take my car to rugby on the Friday night, so it's there on the Saturday morning. So then I've popped in for, it's never an alcoholic drink, and they're usually shandy's alcoholic, you know what I mean? It's usually a shandy or something like that. So it's kind of made me a little bit more social in that respect, and also because I can train, because I'm flexible, so I can train in the week in an afternoon sometimes. It hasn't really affected what I do in the evenings. On a Saturday, it's changed things a little bit because I get to rugby a little bit later, and if I'm going to watch Lincoln, there's the issue of, do I get breakfast with my dad, that sort of thing. So I've had to do a little bit of adjusting, but not massively, no. But my friends have all supported me. I mean, my closest friends, Matt, Dave and Chris, have all been brilliant. Joking around, of course, if I start talking about my running, oh, do you run? And you should have said. And if I've done a long run and I go to a game and like 5 or 6 people ask me how it's gone, and I say how far I've run, by the end of it, kind of Dad and Chris have just got their head in their hands because they've heard all about my 18-mile run 5 or 6 times, and then they'll say things like, just how far did you run again? But it's that kind of support and banter that's really important, isn't it? So yeah, it's good. I believe that I've had some great support, and it hasn't impacted me hugely. In fact, if anything, there's another positive, is it's reconnected me with people who perhaps I haven't seen or I haven't spoken to. So on Strava and Facebook, 2 old school friends, Laura Morris and Oliver Elliott, who I haven't seen since I was at school. So I haven't seen them since 1996. Are regularly just in contact, just with comments on Strava or comments on Facebook and things like that, which is great. I met up with Richard Scott, who I worked with back at the Rugby Plastics in about 98, 99. I hadn't seen him for 20 years, and we met up at the Scunthorpe Half before and had a little beer after as well. So it's funny how it's actually quite a social thing, and it's quite invigorating. And I'm sure there'll be other people who I haven't mentioned, who I've either run with, who have messaged me, and I apologise if I've missed anybody out at all. But I actually feel probably more social than anything. Do you intend to carry on running? Yeah, absolutely. I'll finish the marathon on the Sunday. I'll maybe take the Tuesday off, but I can envisage myself on the Thursday after going out for a 10K or something like that, because it would be remiss to put all of this work in and then just let yourself go to rack and ruin. I think it'd be like trying to restore a classic car, and then once you've driven it to one show, leaving it to rot again. There's no point. I said it's incredible what the human body can do, but you have to make it do it. You're in control. You can't just go to your body, right, get fit for a marathon, it does it. You have to focus on that. So there will be another run afterwards. I won't be asking people for sponsorship. This was really the big one. I don't really want to keep asking people for money all the time, because the support's been phenomenal. But there's a point where I just think, I've got to start having my hand out. But I do intend to carry on running. Where, I don't know. The summer's a little bit difficult. I know Dale Ralston stops running during the summer. I'm going to try and find a way to keep doing it, whether it's early in the morning, late at night, or whatever, just because it's something that I really enjoy now. So yeah, I absolutely intend to carry on running. And who knows, another marathon potentially. I know there's an event Chris Ray from Imptunes mentioned where you have to run as many 10Ks as you can in 24 hours, either individually or as a team. I quite like the idea of that. Probably something that I might look at. I don't know. We shall see. How's the fundraising going? Well, thank you for asking this question, whoever it was. It was me. So the fundraising's going really well. 4,000, and I think it was 4,048 last time I checked. There is a raffle with some phenomenal prizes, and I will try and remember all the prizes. So there's a framed Lincoln shirt signed by the Former Players Association from their game against Bradford City. There is a signed squad shirt, which I can see just behind the laptop there. They're both from the former Players Association. Thank you very much. The club have donated a signed ball, signed by this season's squad, and a copy of EAFC 25, which is the current FIFA game, and that's either Xbox or PlayStation, and it's got the signed inner sleeve, so whichever one the winner wants, they can have. So the club have donated that, which is incredibly generous. Imptoons, Chris, has donated a signed cartoon, so another cracking prize. There is a special gin box, so there is a bottle of gin for the gin lovers amongst you, with a mixer and with kind of nibbles and that sort of stuff. So that's really cool. There is a £100 Bellgate clothing voucher. So if you are a runner and you want to stock yourself up on some running gear, Bellgate Clothing can do that, and they can print those up for you as well. So yeah, some really, really good prizes, and I've chucked in a couple of copies of my book as well. So those prizes are still available. The raffle will be drawn on April the 12th. So to enter the raffle, it's £5 per strip. Drop me £5, £10, £15, however much. GazHutch78 at paypal.com, and you'll then get added to a sheet, which I'll put in the comments section of this video, and then we will draw that on April the 12th. Now, I mentioned there about a book, so that's another thing that's going to be happening, and I'm really hoping to get to £5,000. That's my ultimate aim. So I'm writing a book, tentatively titled "I Don't Like Running, But I Ran a Marathon," and it's basically about my journey from being fat bloke on the sofa laughing at runners to one of the runners that's laughed at by fat blokes on the sofa. But it's practical advice as well, because when I first started running, there was people who ran marathons were giving me advice, and I'm thinking, I can't run to the shops. I mean, to be fair, running to the shops from where I am would be like running a marathon. But, I couldn't run for a bus. And sometimes it's the really early basic steps that get missed. So I give advice on what I've done in terms of kit, trainers, tops, some of the stuff that you don't get told when you're a runner. And again, Chris Ray can vouch for this. If you run over 10k and too loose a top, can take the end of your nipples off. Gentlemen amongst us who run long distances will experience something incredibly worrying when they first get in the shower after a long run, which I won't go into too much detail. Classic example as well. One of the first bits of advice I was given on a marathon: never trust a fart. All the sort of stuff that you're not going to pick up from Seb Coe or Paula Radcliffe's running, well, maybe from Paula, from her running podcast, but all really basic stuff that you probably need to know. And even things like which headphones are good, do you need a running belt, and that sort of approach. And then in the second half, I break down my marathon training. So it acts as a little bit of a blueprint potentially for your own marathon training if you wish to. But it also tells you exactly what I've done, all of the obstacles that I've come up against, from programming watches to forgetting headphones, all that sort of stuff, and a few music and anecdotes as well. And the book does start off with my running journey. So literally from why I gave up running in the first place, which was at school, my very limited running experience as poacher, and then why I started and how I got back into it. And the intention is it's an amusing book. I'm hoping it gives people a little bit of advice, but I'm hoping just people generally who follow the site or who are interested in this sort of thing might pick it up. And all of the pre-sale income from that, or all the pre-sale profit rather from that, will go to the foundation. That'll be going on pre-sale in a few weeks' time. I just want to get a little bit closer to the date beforehand, and it will be on sale through the marathon, and it will finish with a chapter or two on my marathon experience. So that's that basically. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you everybody who supported me. Now is the time to do so. So if you're one of the many people who have come up to me and go, I'm definitely going to sponsor you, I'm waiting for payday, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that, I really appreciate all of that. But if you are intending to, now is the time. There's 30 days left, £4,048. I'm really, really hoping we can get that to £5,000. It would be absolutely phenomenal. For the foundation. And I'm not the only one running for the foundation, by the way. Jasper Caldwell is also running for the foundation. He's been great support. There is a WhatsApp group between me, him, and Alex Bavin from the foundation. And it came through while I was on one of our runs, and it just said superstar runner. And I looked at my watch and it said superstar runner as I was running through Langton by Rugby, and I thought that's brilliant. So Jasper and Alex have been absolutely brilliant. And yeah, so there he's raising money as well. And hopefully between us we can probably crack 5 figures, and that would make a huge difference to a huge number of people across Lincolnshire. So thank you for watching. I will keep you updated, and please, if you are going to sponsor me, the link will be in the bio. It will be on wherever, if it's on YouTube, you're watching this, it'll be there. If it's on my site, it'll be on there. But thank you very much.